Hey all, I'm back with another Legacy video, and today I'm not going to be playing any games. I just wanted to discuss the ban and restricted announcement that happened earlier today. And this announcement was very lackluster. There was basically no changes, and of course, Legacy, the format that you see me play on this channel, had no changes. There was a brief article that discussed Dimir Tempo being the clear best deck, definitely the best play rate, but not to a concerning degree by their standards. So it looks like a classic. We have our eye on it, but we're not too concerned at this point. And they didn't really say anything about, like, sometimes they've literally put the expression, we have our eye on this for the future, but they didn't really say that. So I think it's safe to say that there's not really a ban to be expected on the horizon. And I think this was definitely the correct move. I personally feel like last ban announcement was a huge, heavy hitting announcement. Obviously, I played a lot of Breakfast at the time and Nadu got banned. So I'm very biased. And I think that that was a very heavy handed ban, especially when you consider Entomb going as well. They basically killed off multiple archetypes in one fell swoop. So I think right now it would be too early to make another huge change. But I also think that Legacy has been better since then. I think that personally. And that seems to be the sentiment of the community. And it seems like numbers and challenges are going back up. It seems like player interest is recuperating from what was a really long period of Reanimator Winter, where that deck was so far away the best deck and there really wasn't much else to do. People didn't really like Nadu either. So I think that looking back over the last few months, it's been an upgrade to the format. In addition to that, I think that this announcement with no changes demonstrates the power of the Legacy community and the Magic community. When the sentiment is really low, Wizards is aware of it. When there's discourse surrounding bans that is very overt in wanting bans, they listen. They're very slow and they can be late, but they listen. And this ban announcement and in the weeks leading up to it has been about the quietest I can ever remember, certainly in any time in the past several years. Usually people want something banned. There's always some people who want some card banned and think that would improve the format, and some people want a lot of cards banned. And of course, there's been a lot of power creep. So I think those are all understandable perspectives. But I think that deep down, there's not a lot of players right now who really want to see much in the way of changes. I really haven't even seen any other content at the time that I'm recording this of people saying that they thought it was good or being outraged or anything like that. It's just been very silent. And so I think that means that everything has been pretty good. Now, the cards that I do hear people talking about are Tamiyo and the Oops All Spells creatures. And so I wanted to have a discussion about those really quickly. So Tamiyo, I think, is the card that is most likely to be banned in Legacy in the next year based on how often it's played and how powerful it is. And if you haven't played with Tamiyo or against Tamiyo, I mean, when you read it, it reads pretty strongly, right? Like, you get a free Planeswalker just for casting in Brainstorm. You get to make clues every single turn. So it produces all this material. It's this Swiss Army knife for 1 mana, and the power level is extremely high. But it's more powerful than it even looks. Like, it is a heck of a Magic card and can protect itself really well. It can be a source of card advantage in so many ways. It's just really strong. And obviously, the ultimate just wins the game in a few turns. However, I do think that Tamiyo is a really good, very powerful Magic card. On the other hand, I don't think the One Ring is a very good, very powerful Magic card. It's just a card that, vomits cards into your hand repeatedly. And all it took was spending 4 mana, right? And Tamiyo requires a lot of decision making and planning and rewards skill. I think both if you are playing the card Tamiyo and if you are playing against the card Tamiyo. If you're playing against it and you have removal, you have to weigh the decisions about how punishing is it if this gets dazed? How punishing is this if they brainstorm in response? How can I maximize my ability to get rid of this card and minimize its effect on the board? So even though the card is of an extremely high power level, I do enjoy playing both with it and against it. And there will be some non-games because of it. Magic always has non-games. You could ban every card that anyone has discussed banning in the last 2 years, and there would still be terrible games of Magic played in Legacy, non-games, where someone either gets locked out of the game or you just mulligan into oblivion or a threat went unanswered. So Tamiyo is obviously very high in power level, but I don't think needs to be banned. I think it's reasonable if Wizards decided to ban it, but I do not think the card must be banned to save the Legacy format. I will acknowledge, though, that I'm very biased. I played 4 Tamiyo in Breakfast. I played 4 Tamiyo in Dimir Tempo. I do like the card quite a bit. Moving on, though, I wanted to talk about Oops All spells. People have been talking about banning Balustrade Spy and or Undercity Informer, and a lot of people have talked about banning all of those creatures to simply obliterate Oops All spells. I want to be clear in saying I don't really like Oops All spells. I've never played it. It doesn't appeal to me. I don't enjoy playing against it. I especially don't enjoy playing against it in paper because your round is over in 5 minutes and then you have to walk around forever while everyone else gets to play Magic. So I have to say, I am really not a fan of the Oops All spells experience. However, I think that Oops All spells has a place in Legacy, deserves to be a part of Legacy. And in fact, I think we should encourage the existence of Oops All spells for a few reasons. Number one, Oops All spells is a really nice beginner-friendly deck. If I had to put a deck into someone's hands who was new to the format, maybe even newer to Magic than a lot of Legacy players, like maybe they don't understand, the stack perfectly or priority or things like that that you learn over time by playing the game. What better deck is there to give someone than Oops All spells that would give them a chance to win and have a good time? And to people who are more on the beginning side of their Magic journey, like a turn 1 win is incredible. What a cool feeling. And even just being able to win against experienced players, like that's a good feeling. People like to win and people are motivated when they do win. So because Oops All spells can act as a bit of an ambassador, so to say, for the format, I think we should encourage Oops All spells to continue to exist. Now, if you've been playing Legacy for several months or several years and you haven't branched out from Oops All spells, I would highly encourage you to give just about any other deck a whirl. I think you would have a fun time. I think you would play more Magic and probably improve a lot as a Magic player. And if you're passionate about Oops All spells, you'd probably even improve as an Oops player by getting a different deck in your hands. I think that, when you go to the LGS, if you play something like Oops All spells there, which I think that's very rare. I mean, like, if you play at an LGS a lot, like, how often are you running into Oops All spells? But let's say you do. If you're the one bringing that deck week after week, you might realize that you have more fun playing more Magic. And by that, I mean not playing more rounds of Magic, but literally spending a greater percentage of your time while at your LGS playing Magic instead of walking around, staring at the case, watching other people play Magic. And so I think it's a great beginner deck. I think it's a deck that does not have an oppressive win rate or metagame share. I was just looking today, as a 5.8% metagame share. I mean, that's perfectly healthy. I think it was the third most played deck. It is a very strong deck, and yeah, I do feel bad when I lose to it. It's not a deck that I think rewards skill tremendously, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't exist. Like I said when discussing Tamiyo, there will always be non-games. There will always be games that you get cheesed out of, or games where even from turn one, it's basically out of reach because what you have doesn't line up against what your opponent has. And Oops All Spells is the most exaggerated form of that, because there is a very high likelihood, if they're game one on the play, there's such a high likelihood they can just win the game right then. But sometimes you get some free information. Like sometimes you're just facing a new opponent and they mulligan a whole lot. And now you have a sense, oh, maybe it is Oops All Spells. Maybe instead of, if you're playing Dimir Tempo, for instance, maybe I should be sure to Thoughtseize instead of Tamiyo turn one. Or maybe I shouldn't cast this Ponder. It's my only blue card to pitch to Force of Will. So it is a deck that is very beatable. And I have one last point about Oops All Spells that I think is one of the most important ones, which is that it is, for Legacy, a fairly budget deck. I was researching various lists, and I didn't look exhaustively at everyone, but there was this one by Tiki Dan, someone I've definitely played against on Magic Online many times. And this deck is, according to this website, only $867.96. I'm sure if you have experience building a deck and tracking down cards, you also know that that's probably a high number. And it wouldn't surprise me if this could be found somewhere in like the $700 range to pick up all these cards if you're willing to get some, light played, medium played cards. So that's the cost of, 1 to 2 dual lands, depending on which dual land you get and the condition of that dual land. And you definitely couldn't get a play set of any dual lands for that money. So if you want to get into Legacy, it is such a good option. And if you played Legacy, you know that we need new players, that we need more people to come into the format. Every year people leave the format, whether it's because it's gotten stale or they're too busy or whatever. People just move on. And we need more players. But it's gotten really expensive. I mean, to get a playset of Underground Seas to play Dimir Tempo, I mean, that's ridiculous. A ridiculous cost of thousands of dollars. And I know that a lot of people can play in a proxy-friendly environment. I play in proxy-friendly events all the time, and I'm very thankful for that. But I think that anyone who wants to play Magic the Gathering should aspire to own the real cards to a deck that they play. And so Oops All Spells really is a great way, for all these reasons, for new players to come and enjoy Legacy. And maybe once that new player has kicked your butt a few times on Oops, and maybe you've kicked their butt a few times and kind of tired of it, maybe you say, hey, why don't we switch decks? Or why don't you try playing a different deck? Or have you ever considered playing this deck or that deck? Or, hey, if you like Oops, it's pretty different, but maybe you'd like this, a different combo deck or something like that. So I'm a fan of the existence of Oops All Spells, even though I'm not really a fan of playing for or against the deck. And with all of that in mind, I think that the ban announcement today was spot on. I really don't think Legacy is in a position where it needs tremendous change. I think that we can all make do with the format as it is. I'm excited to see what new printings spice it up a bit. I think that Lorwyn was a bit of a hit, just the perfect amount of injection into the format that brought new life to some decks and powered up some other decks. And I think we should all be thankful that Legacy has come a good way in the last few months since the banning of Entomb and Nadu. So, with that in mind, I hope you're enjoying the format. I hope that you can find a way to win games and enjoy yourself while doing it, because that's the best thing about Magic is when you are enjoying the winning and the losing. And with that in mind, that's really all I have for this video. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back with some gameplay soon. Take care.